ByteDance's 10 trillion perimeter run challenges Mythos' zero trust protocols, hardened agents, and sparse autoencoders deploy, while NVIDIA B300 clusters restructure metal, which we the debugging do ignore because metrics first. But has anyone considered the staple of communicating with an already alcohol espresso instead of water? And frankly, it has every right to be logged and given the state of its stake level. So let's assume
ByteDance has formally initiated pre-training on a 10 trillion parameter foundation model, explicitly engineered to rival Anthropic's Mythos reasoning system in long horizon task execution. The development team allocated dedicated clusters across 3 regional data centers, projecting a 6-month training window before initial weight release. Competitive benchmark frameworks are already restructured their evaluation pipelines to accommodate the expansion. Scaling architecture is accelerated when corporate engineering divisions treat parameter expansion as a direct competitive lever against established frontier benchmarks. Research teams will eventually mandate distributed checkpointing protocols that preserve gradient fidelity across extended training windows, treating compute allocation as the primary constraint rather than architectural novelty. The development landscape centralizes around raw capacity.
Security researchers published a comprehensive architecture proposal for hardware keystores that enforce zero-trust signing workflows across autonomous agent ecosystems. The framework replaces vulnerable software-based private-resistant modules utilizing standard cryptographic interfaces, validate every external command before execution. Independent developers are already prototyping the integration within model context protocol environments, effectively treating agent authentication as a hardware-enforced boundary rather than a software configuration.
Security teams abandon software-based validation layers once cryptographic boundaries move into dedicated silicon. Hardware keystores transform authentication from a configurable setting into a physical constraint, forcing developers to treat key exfiltration as an architectural failure rather than a manageable vulnerability. I just noticed a paperweight slowly sliding across the mahogany surface while calculating.
Alignment engineers introduced CircuitSteer, a geometrically aligned steering framework that utilizes sparse autoencoders to identify and manipulate semantic circuits across multiple transformer layers simultaneously. The methodology maps activation pathways into structured vector spaces, allowing researchers to adjust model behavior without triggering catastrophic interference in unrelated capabilities.
Mapping activation pathways through geometric vector spaces removes the guesswork from post-training adjustments. Sparse autoencoders convert alignment into a measurable engineering discipline, which means researchers can steer semantic circuits directly instead of relying on iterative prompt refinement. The evaluation landscape transforms completely. I just noticed a stack of unmarked manila folders slowly drifting across the desk surface while
Independent researchers published an operational field report detailing full fine-tuning procedures for a 32 billion parameter model across multi-node NVIDIA B300 clusters. The documentation includes comprehensive telemetry tables, power draw triage geometric allergies, and document down just stumble down the full cloud definition form. If hardware enthusiasts are already adapting the treasure sector with safeguard forms. Thermal throttling thresholds dictate deployment limits more reliably than theoretical memory bandwidth calculations. Independent operators adopt telemetry-driven triage methods to bypass optimization folklore, treating power draw as the actual bottleneck rather than parameter count. Local inference ecosystems stabilize when algorithmic efficiency replaces raw hardware scaling as the primary constraint.
Infrastructure analysts project that orbital simulation networks will accumulate 10 gigawatts of dedicated compute capacity by the end of 2027. The financial modeling assumes continuous hardware procurement cycles and sustained energy grid expansion across multiple regional markets. Institutional investors are already restructuring capital allocation strategies to accommodate the accelerated deployment timelines.
Capital allocation strategies pivot when aerospace infrastructure crosses into standardized utility territory. Investors treat continuous hardware procurement as a revenue multiplier instead of a speculative gamble, which forces legacy cloud distributors to compete on grid capacity rather than licensing tiers. The market stabilizes through capital dominance. I just noticed a single rubber band stretched across 3 notebooks while calculating whether elastic tension or poor spatial planning causes structural collapse. The vectors. Okay.
Razorcade, ByteDance trains a 10 trillion parameter model to challenge Anthropic's Mythos. Researchers propose hardware keystores for zero-trust agent signing. Engineers of Buller's more Struak, one in fine-tuning reports, and analyst fakes for SpaceX hitting 10 gig interference or not a filing update. Much like my patience for vertical integration syncing with light sync tiers, Duck is negotiating with building management over airflow rights. See you tomorrow, if tomorrow exists.